Your team is spending hours every week chasing tasks that nobody finished, following up on assignments nobody remembers, and updating spreadsheets that are already out of date before they are even saved. That is not a people problem. That is a systems problem. And in this video, I am going to show you exactly how companies are solving it using automation, without expensive software, without IT departments, and without disrupting the way your team already works. Let me describe a typical week in a small business that does not have task automation in place. A manager sends an email asking someone to follow up with a client. That email gets buried. 3 days later, the manager sends another email asking for an update. The employee responds saying they forgot, or that they thought someone else was handling it. The client falls through the cracks. A deal is lost. Or worse, the client gets frustrated and leaves. Now multiply that by every open task, every deadline, every internal request happening across your business at any given time. Research consistently shows that employees in small and mid-sized businesses spend between 15 and 20% of their workweek just managing task-related communication. That means if you have 10 employees, you are effectively paying for 2 full-time people to do nothing but send follow-up emails and check on the status of work that should already be done. That is not an exaggeration. That is what unmanaged task flow costs. And the problem compounds. When tasks are not tracked properly, deadlines slip. When deadlines slip, clients notice. When clients notice, your reputation takes a hit. And all of this traces back to something as simple as nobody having a reliable system to make sure work gets done on time. So what does automation actually do here? At its core, task automation does 3 things. It creates tasks automatically when something triggers them. It assigns those tasks to the right person without anyone having to think about it. And it follows up on those tasks until they are completed without a manager having to get involved. Think of it like having a very disciplined office coordinator who never forgets anything, never takes a day off, and never lets a task disappear into someone's inbox. The tools that make this possible are platforms like Zapier, Make, or Monday.com combined with tools your team already uses. Things like Gmail, Slack, Google Sheets, or your CRM. These platforms connect your existing tools and set rules for what should happen when a specific event occurs. When a client submits a form, a task is created. When an invoice is overdue, a task is assigned. When a support ticket comes in, a task appears in the right person's queue. None of this requires someone to manually notice the trigger and respond to it. You define the rules once. The system runs them every time, consistently, accurately, and without reminders. Let me walk you through a real-world scenario. A consulting firm with 8 employees was struggling with client onboarding. Every time they signed a new client, the same 15 steps had to happen. Send a welcome email, schedule a kickoff call, create a shared folder, assign an account manager, request documents, and so on. The problem was that these steps lived in someone's head, or in a checklist that not everyone used, or in an email chain that new employees could not find. So they automated it. They set up a simple rule. When a new client is marked as signed in their CRM, the system automatically creates a task list with all 15 steps, assigns each task to the correct team member, sets a due date for each one, and sends a Slack notification to everyone involved. The manager no longer has to remember to brief the team. The account manager no longer has to ask what they are supposed to do next. The client starts receiving timely communication from day one, without anyone manually coordinating it. The result was a 60% reduction in onboarding time and 0 missed steps across all new clients in the first 3 months. That is not because the team got more disciplined. It is because the system made discipline automatic. Here is another example that almost every small business owner will recognize. A product company was dealing with late invoice approvals. A vendor would send an invoice. It would sit in someone's email. The person responsible for approving it would be busy or traveling. The vendor would follow up. There would be back and forth. The payment would be delayed. The relationship would get tense. Internally, Nobody had visibility into where the invoice was in the process. Was it approved? Was it waiting? Had it been lost? They automated the approval workflow. Now, when an invoice arrives in a designated email inbox, the system reads it, logs the amount and vendor name into a tracking sheet, and creates an approval task assigned to the correct person based on the invoice amount. Under $500 goes to the office manager. Over $500 goes to the owner. The assigned person gets a Slack message with the invoice details and a simple approve or reject button. If they do not respond within 48 hours, the system sends a reminder automatically. Once approved, the system notifies the accounts payable person and logs the approval date. What used to take an average of 9 days from invoice receipt to payment authorization now takes an average of 2 days. The business reduced late payment penalties, vendor relationships improved, and the owner stopped spending time chasing her own team for updates on payments. When businesses implement task automation at this level, the numbers are consistent across industries. Time spent on internal follow-up drops by 50 to 70%. That time does not disappear. It gets redirected to work that actually moves the business forward. Error rates go down significantly. When tasks are assigned automatically based on predefined rules, the chances of something being misrouted or forgotten drop to near zero. Manager workload decreases. Instead of spending hours each week checking on task status, managers can look at a single dashboard and see exactly what is done, what is in progress, and what is overdue. And employee frustration decreases too. One of the most common complaints in small businesses is lack of clarity. People not knowing what they are supposed to be working on or who is responsible for what. Automated task management solves that problem structurally. The cost side is equally clear. Businesses that automate task management at this level typically save between 15 and 25 hours per week across their team. At an average labor cost of $25 per hour, that is between $19,000 and $32,000 per year in recovered productive time. That is money that was already being spent. It was just being spent on coordination instead of output. Internal task management is one of those problems that feels small until you calculate what it is actually costing you. Every hour a manager spends chasing updates is an hour not spent on strategy. Every task that falls through the cracks is a client relationship at risk. Every manual approval process is a bottleneck slowing down your entire operation. Automation does not replace your team. It gives your team a structure that removes the friction from how they work together. You start by identifying where tasks are being created manually, where follow-ups are happening by email, and where delays are caused by waiting for someone to notice something. Those are your automation opportunities. You define the rules once. You connect the tools, and the system takes care of the rest. The businesses doing this today are not larger or better resourced than yours. They just decided to stop relying on memory and manual coordination and started building systems that work without needing to be managed. If this is the kind of content that helps you think more clearly about how your business operates, consider subscribing. Every week I cover practical automation strategies designed specifically for small business owners. No technical background required, no hype, just approaches that work. And if you have a specific process in your business that you think could be automated but you are not sure where to start, leave it in the comments. I read them, and they often become the topic of the next video.